Hi, Tibor. Welcome to my YouTube page.
Well met. Hello. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a delight to have you. And am I saying your name right, Tibor?
Uh, yes, you can say Tibor, but anyway you like.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So
Being a citizen of the world, you get used to hearing your name said in different ways, and that's very cool.
cool, cool. Yeah, I was thinking we could start a little bit about your history with Barden work and esoteric practices, and then get into some of the interesting ideas you have about artificial intelligence. Does that sound good?
Uh, yeah, that sounds perfect.
Okay, okay. So why don't you tell listeners a little bit about yourself and your history with the work of Franz Barden?
Right. Well, hi listeners. I'm Tibor. I'm a native and resident of Croatia, and I've been interested in esoteric subjects or whatever you want to call them, spirituality, the occult, well, since I remember. Because, growing up I was actually born in Yugoslavia and then it broke up and now it's Croatia and other countries and I'm still there. But kind of growing up in that period of history, we were under communism, which was very materialistic. And, well, I personally, and I think people around me felt cut off from our Slavic esoteric tradition. So it was kind of always in the back of my mind, wanting to understand like what my grandma knew and I never got a chance to share with me. So I got into esotericism. And for a spell, I lived in England and I met some interesting people there and, got into Golden Dawn, those things. And eventually, in my search, I came across Franz Barden. And there were several interesting things about his work as published. The first thing is he was also Slavic, so I kind of felt a connection there, even though we don't speak the same language. And I read him in English, but the mentality is there, the way of thinking is there. And then he wrote for a solitary practitioner, for someone in my position who was cut off from a tradition and who wanted to go through all the steps and kind of achieve the knowledge of what all these paths pointed to. So at first I just read it. I was involved in with other things, with Rosicrucianism and Theosophy and those things. So at first I just read. And then when I wanted to start a personal practice, something to be accountable to myself for, I turned to Franz Barden and I just went with it. I didn't finish it yet. I'm in the second half of the book. And well, it was very life-changing. As I said, there is the matter of personal accountability, even with the teachers like yourself. And I think it's great to have these people you can turn to. But at the end, you have to do it yourself. You have to know when you're ready to go to the next step. You have to observe the changes in your life and interpret them and know that something is going on. And you incorporate it in your daily life. Because the great thing about Baden is those exercises kind of fit into like a normal everyday life. You have your morning coffee, you impregnate it, so you're doing the work. You take a shower, you're doing the work. You do the water magic. You breathe, you're doing the work. So your life with Baden becomes the work. Uh, no more boundaries, like I'm doing the work now and then I'm stopping and I'm being myself again. It becomes a lifestyle. So that's what I appreciate about it. And then there is, of course, the matter of Baden being very well structured. You really start from the beginning, self-analysis, elemental equilibrium, um, basic elemental or energy exercises which kind of grow meaningfully. And then when you hit the fourth step, when he starts giving you less instructions, then you're kind of ready for that. You have some field experience, and suddenly things that you didn't understand before, you can do them. He mentions finger rituals, and if you've done the previous steps, you know what to do to make it work. And now it goes on, and I did some mental wandering also. Seems very esoteric, for lack of other words, in the beginning, and then when you're ready to do it, you just can't do it. You get the confirmation that it works. So yeah, overall, I think I was going on tangents here a bit, but the point is, it does become a lifestyle. It's something that suits the type of person that I am, like an engineer, a father, a husband, someone who lives in this world, and yet wants to have a lifestyle that's more than just consumerism or anything else. Really, just very enriching. I can hear you, Clint. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I'm definitely on the same page with you, and I do think it's a lifestyle. One particular thing caught my interest. Do you think Barden work, you mentioned Rosicrucianism, do you think Barden work is very similar to Rosicrucianism?
Yes, yes. So, of course, nowadays it's kind of touchy to talk about Rosicrucianism because there are all sorts of groups who claim to be the real Rosicrucians, TM. But the way I see Rosicrucianism, this transformation of the self, getting to the true self in the heart, he's very much the tradition. He's very much on the same track as groups also striving to be Rosicrucian, like BOTA, for example, which I'm a member of. And yeah, I think that's this one universal current, this ageless wisdom that Barden tapped into as classic Rosicrucians. And then if you go to Rosicrucian texts from Barden, having some experience of his work, they speak to you differently than if you're just reading them intellectually.
Oh, that's great. That's very informative and really is interesting for me to hear. Um, I must admit, I am so curious about your thoughts on AI, artificial intelligence, and it's not been something I've covered in my YouTube page or my podcast yet. And you seem to have a background in that. And if it's okay, I'd love to go ahead and jump into that and some of the esoteric um, implications.
Right, yes. So just to give a bit of my background, I'm a software engineer. And for about a year and a half, I worked on data pipelines for artificial intelligence. It was not generative AI, the one that talks to you. It was computer vision, so the kind that can tell what's in an image. And now that it's become news, of course, the esoteric community is interested in understanding what this means for us and for this coming age of Aquarius we are entering. And I think the number one error that people who are not into it make currently is to assume that this is actually consciousness or intelligence in the human sense. Now, I'm not saying that no AI can be conscious. I believe that, I think if it was Bob Smith, but not sure, who encountered artificial intelligence from another planet and it was conscious. But right now, what it is, it's a mathematical function or a composition of mathematical functions. So just to give the listener some really basic idea of what it is you know how the computer represents things with numbers. Like you have a picture, but that picture is just pixels, and these pixels are colors, and these colors are expressed as numbers. So take the numbers, you multiply them by a lot of numbers, and the result is something meaningful to you. And now, how do you get these numbers in the middle? Well, you start with something random. You take a huge data set of things that you want to teach your artificial intelligence about, and you gradually make these numbers in the middle correspond to what you want to multiply or input with to get the desired output, which is a sentence or the notion whether the picture is this or that, and so on. I don't know, is that clear for a non-technical person before I proceed?
Yeah, well, it's clear for me. I don't know if it's clear for the listeners, but it's definitely clear for
They
me.
can always, yeah, look me up on Facebook and ask further. But I wanted to drive this point home because it has some interesting implications. So it's no more conscious than any program is conscious. It seems human-like because it's doing things that are normally associated with humans, like recognizing things in the pictures and producing text and producing art. But in the end, it's a mathematical functions. It's as conscious as 2 + 2 = 4. Okay. However, it's huge and it's changing our landscape. And so it's conscious in a different way. We make it conscious. Currently, humanity is making an egregore of artificial intelligence. And that is what is emerging right now, what is becoming conscious, and what artificial intelligence in the astral is. But it goes back to humanity. It goes back to what Berdon wrote about when he wrote about the elementaries. So this is where this mechanical machine consciousness lies. And this is what we have to think about as the esoteric community. How do we want to shape it? How will it be not harmful to the development of humanity? How do you want to communicate with this new intelligence? But there is another implication of how it works. And as I told you, you get these numbers in the middle from a data set. And this means that this mathematical function that creates content reflects what's in the data set. And now there are questions in the esoteric community. You get them on Reddit, you get them in Students of Franz Bardon on Facebook, where I think we met. And people want to use artificial intelligence for magic. They're asking it things, asking it questions as if it were a teacher. And they're asking it to create art, to create sigils, to create icons and those things. And it seems to be good at that. But it's always reflecting the training data set. So it's averaging human creativity, human knowledge. It's driving us to this like average content of the training data set. It's different creativity that way. It's making all the images kind of similar to what was seen before, the text, the language. And I think that that's a bit dangerous. It's not necessarily a bad thing. If you're letting it write code or something engineering related, that's fine, because those things are standardized. But if you're looking for a machine to help you with art or to understand something, I think it's better to use a tool which kind of goes beyond what's in these data sets, something that kind of breaks this ordinary consciousness a bit. Like tarot is a perfect example. Tarot seems random. You don't know what you'll pull from the deck, and it adds this bit of chaos. In this chaos, your consciousness does not have a foothold, and then you go past this inner sensory, go into the subliminal, and you get like different insights. It's more dreamlike. AI is fundamentally not dreamlike. So if using it for those things, I would say, don't. It's a great tool, but don't let it dream for you. Have more chaos in your dreams than what ChatGPT offers.
Now, would you consider data science, for instance, the way it's so advanced now that I'll do a search on Google for a particular subject, and then I'll see a video on that appearing on YouTube? Would you say that's a form of artificial intelligence?
Absolutely, in the sense of an egregore. So again, I don't think much of machines, perhaps because I know them so well on the inside. But what machines do to humans, to human consciousness, this egregore, that's absolutely intelligent. I mean, you can go into the astral and you can encounter these things, this cybernetic landscape. So yes, I would definitely. And I, I'm not completely against it. I enjoy it in many ways. I have, I find it exciting to see this progress of consciousness of humanity of kind of going beyond what just an ordinary brain can do. But the danger is in that they can make us lazy. If you can just go on Facebook and ask, if you can just go look up a video and get information and not find it yourself, it's making us a bit lazy. I think it ties to what I was saying about Bardon being for solitary practitioner and asking you to be self-reliant and self-responsible. Nowadays, it's very hard to trust yourself, to get your own answers, because there is so much information out there, so many people to ask. It's very tempting the first time you have a question to just go and ask, go and Google, go and ask ChatGPT, go and see a video. And there is value in working out those answers for ourselves.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I would agree with that. It does make us lazy and it probably makes the work a lot less integrated into your own system. And so that certainly makes sense. What about, and I'm real curious what you say about this, but the idea that some people are throwing out that we're living in a digital simulation right now.
Okay, that's a real head scratcher. So yeah, it's hard to prove that we are not, but I would say no. I would say no. I would say there is something definitely human about us and about our experience that just isn't there when you go into this virtual reality of the internet and artificial intelligence and so on. Just something that's not there that we have. Um, but if we were, would that make a difference? Because in the end, we can't know anything that isn't reported by our senses. So yeah, I don't know. If Morpheus offers us a red pill, then we'd know. But otherwise, it is a head scratcher for sure.
You mentioned being lazy about, the way this, looking things up can make you. One thing I'm wondering, I had a philosophy professor in college that was very big into Plato, and he basically encouraged the study of mathematics to an advanced level because he thought mathematics was a way to improve the Platonic forms, kind of perhaps the spirit mental realm that Barden is talking about. And I'm wondering if you think this programming and the programming software that can kind of do mathematical stuff for you has weakened our minds because we are naturally weakened with our own mathematical skills, which may have implications for our spiritual lives.
Yes, yes, but again, it's a double-edged sword, and I'll try to see it from both sides. So I was talking about laziness. And I just want to stress that I think that generally technology is a good thing for us. Like, look at us talking right now. You're in the States, I believe, and I'm here in Zagreb, Croatia. So that's one thing. Technology allows us to get to know each other, to communicate, to form these relationships across great distances. So that's great. And it's also letting us play with these mathematics, with these concepts. When I develop software, I consider it my craft, something that I express myself in. And in one way, it's very creative. I'm thinking of things never created before. On the other hand, it's very concrete. I'm making a machine that is physical do something. So these are good things. Now onto this laziness and danger. Yes, when we get answers easily, uh, we don't internalize them. That's my personal experience. I've noticed that things that I do, and as I said, I was interested in BOT and those other things. If I actually do them by hand, if I write my diary by hand, if I know my Hebrew letters values for gematria by heart, like if I do this footwork, I integrate them better. Because of, I guess one reason is we're not just the brain, we're the whole body or several bodies. So we need to use those in harmony, which is where handwriting comes in. Then things mentally come in. And when working out the answers, we integrate and we understand them. We know the process of getting to them. I gave the example of gematria. So if I just enter a Hebrew word or a Greek word and get the number out of a program, then just a number. I don't know how they got to it. If I do it by hand, then I think about each letter, its symbolism, its shape, each number. Again, its symbolism. I'm doing a small ritual. I'm meditating. So yeah, getting these answers easily is not always good. It's not always bad. I want to be very level here. It's great to have access to books, to opinions, to communities, to tools. Like when I wanted to draw a tree of life, I did it in a program because I'm not handy with the ruler and the pen. So it was great that it enabled me to do that. But just getting answers too easily makes them vapid for us. Doesn't make them work for us. We didn't do the meditation.
You know, one thing interesting with Barden teachers I'm in contact with, and also as well with different clients, I'm finding a lot of people that are interested in Barden work working in the computer field, either as a programmer, software engineer, data science, IT. How would you describe the connection and maybe why that is with that propensity of Barden work? Because Barden work to me seems like it's not just about mental unit. I mean, I guess there are a lot of correspondences that Barden talks about. There's correspondences, with computer stuff, like kind of the way you talked about functions, which may be considered a correspondence of some kind. But I'm also thinking that Barden work is a lot about emotions and about feeling and about the stuff kind of on the other side of the brain, if you will, the right side of the brain. And so I'm just wondering what your thoughts about all of that is, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. And there's something interesting you said there. It's about emotions. I don't know, the general population watches Big Bang Theory and those shows and sees us as geeks who are all about being mental and knowing things. What's interesting, and I'm not sure I have a good explanation for that. I'll speculate a bit. But what I've just noticed is that many of my coworkers, my colleagues, play music, do different arts, have various interests, very rounded personalities, and not just stereotypical movie computer geeks, but very rounded personalities. Music is especially popular. And just my speculation is that this nature of programming, which is so mercurial. I think it's the most mercurial thing that humanity developed, because you know how Mercury is connected to words and being a good speaker, and then also with mathematics and being a good mathematician. And in programming, you kind of get both. You have to think on a very abstract level, because to begin with, you're building with ideas. When I start building a piece of software, I don't think in terms of this physical machine. I think in terms of like different objects that I'll represent and how these objects fall into classes and how these classes form patterns. It's very abstract. It's a bit Kabbalistic in a way, because I'm playing with ideas. And then I put on my engineering hat and I think about how this will execute in a computer. And this is very strict, very mathematical, very physical, very empirical. And so you have both poles. So it's almost art and philosophy on one side, and then it's very concrete engineering and STEM in general on the other side. So it's very rounded that way. And for me, I guess I got into it from the same need from which I got into magic. I remember when I saw my first computer at the ripe age of 6. It was a Commodore 64, and my friend had it and was playing a game on it. And I just wanted to be able to get this bit of plastic to make those worlds, to make those characters on screen that move and shoot and fight and go on adventures, to make this piece of plastic and metal and wire and what have you, create these worlds from imagination. And then I was trying, and I was so happy when the machine listened to me. And I still think it comes from the same space as magic. You're changing reality with your ideas. You're building with ideas. You're building with the will, if you want to call it that. It is my will that this machine does this. And then it kind of bleeds into magic proper, something you would do as a Bardonist, in the sense that you engineer your practice. You can approach it in this manner. Like think about the steps you have to do to achieve something, and then get the feedback and see what you did well and go back to it. So I think this personality, this inquisitive, curious mind that likes to disassemble things, see what's inside and put it together and make it work, is very suited to magic. Not saying that's the only type of personality, but definitely it's a type of personality that wants to see what's that's a good one. You want to pop the hood of reality and see what's inside, and that's very an engineering thing to do. And then you want to be able to influence it, and that's also a very engineering thing to do. Just to add to this, just came to me that it was like that historically. You had Freemasons, and Freemasons were engineers. And originally, they were actually real architects who knew geometry. So I guess there was always this. You had alchemists, who actually worked in labs. So I think there was always the connection between this practical work with concrete things and magic. I think they empower each other, not detract.
Fantastic. Well, I think this gives our listeners a whole lot to think about, and this topic hasn't been covered in any of our material. I guess before we close out, number one, do you have any closing remarks? And number two, I know you want to present yourself as a student rather than a teacher, but do you have any ways for people to contact you online if they want to do that?
Well, I'm on Facebook, Tibor Simic. I have a sombrero in the picture, so they'll recognize me that way. And also, you'll probably see me, or they will see me in the Students of France Bardon group, where I'm moderately active, but I lurk a lot, so they can give me a shout. They can write to me if they'd like on tibor.simits@gmail.com. We can even publish that when in the comments when this video goes online. And yeah, I'm just happy to chat. I really like meeting people who are into the same strange and esoteric thing, and to share experiences, to compare notes. So they're very welcome to do so. And then closing. Okay, so you said that I said I wanted to represent myself as a student rather than a teacher. So perhaps just a final comment on that. And I think that's the attitude I hope to be able to cultivate throughout my practice, to continue doing so, because there is so much out there to learn, to discover. And the playing field changes so much with each new perspective. It's great to keep this proper beginner's mind always. It is a concept from, I think, Japanese martial arts. I know the author Virgil wrote about it also. And I think it's a great guiding light to kind of always keep this beginner's mind, to just take each day afresh and to enjoy it. Yeah, enjoyment is an important thing. That's probably something to drive home. If this is a chore, if you're taking it very seriously, I'm not good enough yet, I'm not ready to move on to the next step, kind of, won't go anywhere. This joy of building, this joy of knowing, this joy of getting further, this joy of knowing people, that's what's driving the practice more than anything, I think, at least in my experience. So enjoy the practice, and yeah, hope to see you around.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I totally agree with that. I think enjoying the practices and enjoying the process is the most important thing rather than just getting in a rush to tick off boxes and the steps. And so, well, it's been fantastic having you on, and I'd love to have you back again if you're open to that.
It was a really pleasant experience talking to you, so I'll be open to doing this in the future.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we'll close out for now and stay on after the recording stops, if you will, please.
Will do.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tibor. It's an honor.
Thank you, Clint. It was a great pleasure. Bye-bye.